and joining us for this incredible cause. COVID cases in India rising at an unprecedented rate, 400,000 cases reported yesterday alone, including 4,000 deaths. We believe these figures are underreported by at least 50%. To date, Indian government is reporting 21 million infections from COVID and death toll to 230,000. And we believe this is underreported. This will easily surpass a million in a very short period of time. We fear that the worst is yet to come, and this is what is driving this incredible group of leaders from Seattle and the broader technology ecosystem to come together and make a big difference. We are trying to create rapid funding, resources, logistics, and supplies, including ground support in India to help save lives in India. Time is of the essence, and we need your support right away. My personal story started last Tuesday night when we got a call from India. My father-in-law was taken to the hospital, diagnosed with COVID, being unconscious. 3 days later, he passed away. He was 76 years old. Then my mother-in-law was diagnosed with COVID and could not be by his side in his last moments and has not been able to grieve. Then I get a call from Thursday night that both of my parents have been diagnosed with COVID. My mother has severe underlying health issues, and we are praying for their health. We're very fortunate to have financial and medical resources available to my family in India. Most importantly, oxygen. Oxygen tanks have been set up in our house and my wife's house. As I started to research and talk with families of many in India, I started realizing that despite great financial resources, it is very hard to get oxygen. Can you imagine hundreds of millions of Indians who don't have financial and medical resources at their disposal? They're dying because they cannot get to hospitals and don't have oxygen. Oxygen is so critical, especially when it reaches below 93. Majority of deaths can be avoided by just having access to oxygen. Hospitals are running out of oxygen. This is my story and passion and why I got involved with this incredible group of partners on the call today. I'm joined today by Ramanan Lakshminarayan, who's leading oxygenforindia.org. I'm joined by Kabir Shahani, CEO of Imperity, and I'm joined by Steve Singh, who was founder, CEO of Concur, and now managing director at Madrona, and just an incredible technology leader in the technology industry. We are fortunate that this incredible group of leaders in Seattle has come together to form seattleforindia.org. Our sole mission is to save human lives in India. We're doing this by collaborating with oxygenforindia.org. You'll get to hear from Ramanan Lakshminarayan, who's leading this charge. Since time is of the essence, they're organizing oxygen tanks, concentrators, and shipping them to India from US, Hong Kong, China, and other parts of the world. Most importantly, we were drawn to this cause, to this organization specifically, because they are also solving the last mile problem with logistics and getting this oxygen to hospitals in record amount of time in 8 cities. I personally want to thank this incredible set of generous donors. We came together in literally 3 hours of time starting Tuesday morning. Let me just read their names. Tom and Kathleen Bogan from Workday, Neil Dempsey, Bay Partners, Matt and Carol McElwain from Madrona Venture Group, Ravi and Christy Mohan from Shasta Ventures in the Silicon Valley, Sujal and Meera Patel from Seattle, Kabir and Noreen Shahani from Seattle, Raj and Jill Singh, CEO of Accolade, Steve and Heather Singh, Madrona Venture Group, Soma and Akila from Madrona Venture Group, and then just incredible generosity from organizations, Vista Equity Partners, Tanium Corporation, Apptio Corporation, and many more. Since we went live with this website last night, we've had 20 people donate from the Seattle community, exceeding funds greater than 50,000, and we are just launching this program today. You all can make a massive difference. We need financial resources right away. Time is of the essence. Anything that you can do to contribute, whether it's $1, $10, $100, $1,000, $10,000. We will have our team tell you towards the end on how to make these contributions, so we can quantify the impact this incredible community is making in this time of need. With that, it's my honor and privilege to introduce Ramanayan Lakshminarayan from Oxygen for India to just share what this program is and his passion. He's a professor at Princeton, currently dialing in from New Delhi, India. Welcome.
Thank you, Sunny, Steve, and Kabir, and thanks to all of you for joining. So, well, I started doing this 12 days ago, in fact, because a close colleague at work had to be taken to the ICU 2 days after he was diagnosed, and he's 42 years old. He has a 5-year-old child, and he's a very dear friend. And we couldn't, for the life of us, the entire team, pull together oxygen for him. We just couldn't. It was virtually impossible. I had to call in lots of favors, and we could barely make it. He's still in the ICU. I hope he makes it. It's going to be tough, and there are many nights when they run out of oxygen, and we take it to him in the middle of the night. So it sort of it really brought home the point. So just background on me. I'm a public health researcher. I'm an epidemiologist. And I've been writing about COVID from the early days, from last February in the New York Times, the New Yorker, various other publications. I've been, warning about this. And I think, like many people who are sort of back and forth between the US and here, it was astounding the level of lack of preparation that has really been on the ground. And this problem of oxygen is truly so acute that, it doesn't matter who you are. I've had calls from people who are a former union secretary in the government begging for oxygen. And then there are people, just average middle class people begging for oxygen. And it's so heartbreaking because this one commodity, which should be available to everyone and literally costs next to nothing, is just not available because the system to bring oxygen to people is not there. You could have oxygen just 50 yards away from you, but if you didn't have a pipe or you didn't have a cylinder, it's of no use to you. And that's the problem. India does not lack oxygen per se. It lacks the last mile connectivity for oxygen. And that's what is killing a lot of people. The death toll in just the next 3 weeks will probably be, the real death toll. We're losing about 30,000 people a day. And it doesn't show up in the numbers, but I think anyone who just even goes around Delhi and sees the numbers of crematoria, there's now 100-pyre crematoria that is in South Delhi, and the line to get to that 100-pile crematoria is about 15 hours long. So it's a disaster, and this will go down as the greatest tragedy in India since the partition. I think there's just no other way to put it. And so we started Oxygen for India. A group of friends got together. Then some companies pitched in. Yahoo, Verizon Media was an early supporter. Tech Mahindra gave money, got on board. A whole bunch of other companies got on board. Recently, United came on board, and their CEO told us that they would ship all our stuff for free. So our role is really to figure out this last mile connectivity. And the way in which we do it is that we're looking primarily to increase critical care bed capacity. And we're doing that by trying to get people in hospitals right now out faster with supportive oxygen at home so that we can guarantee them that. And then we're working with hospitals to identify people who are showing up there for lack of breath and seeing if they can be managed at home. And I know every single one of you knows somebody who has COVID or a death in the family. I certainly, have so many I've just lost track. Just half an hour ago, the head of my lead at Tech Mahindra, the team that's supporting me, his sister died of COVID. I mean, he was just devastated. He's working here for Oxygen for India, and so it's hard to explain because we're not used to being in that situation in the States, and it is a situation that we have to really now work to get out from. We have a team of over 120 volunteers set up in 8 cities, as Sunny mentioned, and we're starting in Ranchi, Guwahati, Kolkata, Delhi, Chandigarh, Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Chennai, but we'll be in a whole bunch of Western towns. This pandemic, this epidemic in India is everywhere. It is not just a city problem. It is not visible to you on television, but it is much worse than it's shown up on television. It's there in small towns in every part of the country. And it's really, it's special also for me, for you guys to do this from Seattle. Seattle is, was my home for many years. I went to the UW. I got my PhD and my master's there. I'm still on faculty at UW. I'm a affiliate professor at the Department of Global Health, and it's a city that's very dear to me. I mean, it's a place I know so well. So when this came together and Sunny offered to do this, I was just like, wow. I mean, this is really my city coming together for me. So thank you for your support. We really need it and appreciate everything that you can do. Thank you.
Thank you. Kabir, why don't we kind of go to you? You've been just super instrumental in organizing. Just maybe kind of just share your thoughts and just kind of call to action for people kind of listening to us.
Yeah, thanks, Sunny. And Ramanan, really appreciate all the work you're doing. And I know many sleepless nights, and we're appreciative. And Sunny, it's been extraordinary to watch your leadership in action and how quickly we've been able to come together and be so effective thanks to you. And just know, we're praying for your parents and sending our best wishes and hope they have a speedy recovery. I think this pandemic and this specific issue in India, really for me, there's three things that make it super easy to participate and to donate, to do everything you can. The selfish lens on this is that this is a global pandemic. Turns out this is not like Ebola or SARS, where it was under control to certain regions and the response even in our own country in the United States allowed it to be isolated. This is truly global. And so to the extent that this pandemic rages on, particularly with the acuteness that it is in India right now, it's still a pandemic for all of us. And so I think it's really important we recognize the global nature of COVID and the importance of getting it under control. Two, I think it's dawned on all of us over the past couple of weeks watching what's happening in India that unfortunately COVID is a pandemic that does highlight inequity. And when you think about a place like New Delhi or a place like Bombay, you recognize that social distancing is a privilege. These are parts of the world and cities where you physically cannot social distance. The economic conditions of many of the people in these cities, as Sunny pointed out, are such that they don't have the space. They have to sleep in close quarters. They have to live in close quarters. Oxygen, as we've now learned the hard way, is a privilege that countries that have the resources are able to provide for their people. And even PPE is a privilege. And so with our global citizen hats on, in terms of equality and equity that we expect to see around the world, this is a very easy cause to get behind. And lastly, as of course, all of us have ties to India, many people, whether you come from an Indian background or not, recognize that India is a very special place. We're talking about one of the most original, earliest civilizations in the world. Everybody I know, whether they're Indian or not, has stepped foot on that soil and has said to themselves, this is a very special place with very special people. And when I think about what India means to me as somebody who was not born there, and so my connection is different than Sunny's and different than Steve's, but my connection is real because it's where my family's from. It's where my family still lives. It's where there's a very special group of people that need our help. And so as Sunny said, I would invite everybody watching, and I appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day to listen to us. Every little bit counts. I think what's important as we think about the impact we can have, as Sunny said, whether it's $10 or $100 or $1,000 or $100,000 or $1 million, it doesn't matter. What's important is that you contribute what you can, because I believe we all have a responsibility to do so.
Thank you, Kabir. Steve, over to you.
Yeah. First of all, that was fantastic, Kabir. Ramanan, thank you very much, and Sunny, thank you. Look, it's amazing. I mean, COVID certainly has separated us, but it's also brought us together in ways that sometimes really kind of lift your spirits. Here in the Pacific Northwest, about a year ago, the height of the global pandemic hit us, and there's a group of people here around the All in Seattle initiative, many of which are also on this call. Came together and we raised tens of millions of dollars to help our neighbors with basic needs, right? Helping them to put food on the table for their families, shelter, basic medical services, and it brings to your day-to-day life the reality that we all need each other, that we're very interconnected, whether it's here locally in Seattle or around the world, and that interconnected nature is important to recognize and important to speak to. We are dependent upon one another, and that's not just dependence on because our families may be there or that we have friends and colleagues that are working there, but the reality is our businesses are interconnected. Everything we do is connected on a global basis, and so just as the All in Seattle group of people came together to help our local neighbors, it is our strong desire that we come together to help our brothers and sisters that happen to be a little bit further away. This is, I also have family there. My mother and father happened to be running a girls' school in India. They're out there today. They were vaccinated. They after their vaccination, they decided to go back to this girls' school because they wanted to be there with these young women as they were going through school and make sure that they did their part in running that school. And then, of course, the pandemic has flared up. And so certainly while I feel some stress about their safe return, I feel more stressed of the needless deaths that are going to occur because of a lack of oxygen. So our request to all of you that are listening is, whatever you can contribute, whether it's literally 50 cents to $50 to whatever it may be, it will help, and it will help a person live. And for that, we are extremely grateful. So thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Ramanan, maybe we'll go to you for a couple of questions coming through. Can you just speak for a minute or a couple of minutes on logistically, what are you doing to put oxygen on the planes, and how quickly can that be made accessible to the hospitals and in the lungs of people in India?
So Sunny, 12 days ago, I didn't know how to charter a flight out of, anywhere. But today I know lots of things about stuff we've just learned in 12 non-stop days. We have concentrators that are arriving on every United flight leaving Newark starting tomorrow, starting Friday night. So every 24 hours, we have 500 concentrators moving. In fact, the total concentrators we're moving is about 4x of what the US government has provided India. So it's a significant effort. We're getting about 20,000 oxygen cylinders. We'll eventually get to about 40,000 out of China. Again, many X of what the global the nations have provided. We're moving these by special Oxygen for India charters from Guangzhou. Starting on Tuesday, every day there will be about 800 cylinders that get delivered by Indigo Airlines into various cities. We take them directly to cities. We're flying them into Kolkata to cover the east. We're covering north from Delhi, and then the west from Mumbai, and then the south from Bangalore and Chennai. So we've got all this stuff lined up. We've identified oxygen suppliers on the ground. Where there are no suppliers, we're using concentrators. So Delhi will be a very concentrator-led strategy. The strategy for Chandigarh or Ranchi will be much more, there are sources of oxygen. And we work with a whole bunch of other NGOs working in the space, whether it's ACT or Give India or Swast and all these folks. It's one team. We're solving the same problem. And keep in mind that no matter what we do, this is like pointing a fire hose at a forest fire. So let's just remember, this is of a massive scale. But if of the 500,000 deaths that we expect in the next 2 to 3 weeks, if we can prevent 100,000 people from dying, I think we would have done an amazing job. And I mean that in a collective sense. And so like I said, starting Friday night, the planes are all shipping stuff out. Starting Saturday, we've got expedited customs clearance. We'll hit the ground. But just to say that we already have hit the ground, we've already saved lives. We have just about 50 cylinders, and they're already being used in Delhi. And it's obviously a very small number of people we can help with that. But we've already got, I think, about 30 people who have had oxygen directly from Oxygen for India. So we've been very early on the ground that way. But like I said, the other part is also about increasing critical care bed capacity. Oxygen is lacking, but critical care beds are lacking. And if you're really sick, you can't just stay at home. You have to go into one of those beds. India cannot set up new ICU beds and critical care beds overnight. It can't even do this in 1 year because it involves staff. You can't just open up a stadium and do this. So we're solving that by optimizing the existing bed capacity, by working with them, and we built all the software literally in 4 or 5 days to help the hospitals, help us with the triage process, and be able to rotate those beds much faster. So a lot happening. Like I said, it's just it's been an incredible effort, and it wouldn't have happened but for folks like you just stepping in so generously, but also an amazing team of volunteers and partner organizations that are just the logistics is being provided by someone for free. The procurement is being provided by someone for free. So in terms of bang for the buck, most of this money is just going directly into the commodity purchase at this point in time.
Great. Thank you so much for that. Maybe Missy Wagner, we'll have her kind of just speak for a minute on the best way to contribute, why we set up Seattle for India org website, and what we are asking the best way to kind of donate. Missy?
Yeah, thanks, Sunny. So first of all, thanks everyone for joining, and for those of you that are live with us, we appreciate you being here, and we appreciate if you've already donated. The community in Seattle has rallied around this cause in partnership with Oxygen for India, and we created Seattle for India. Now, let me be really clear, and I think we got a question of like, how do I help with this in Nashville? Just because it started in Seattle, we don't want it ending in Seattle. We want this viral. We want this in all countries, in all cities, in all states. So you can obviously donate directly to the Oxygen for India site. What we would love for you to do is to go to Seattle for India site. We want to be able to track the impact. We want to be able to show how we rallied and see what that impact is. I think that's really important to us. So there's a website called seattleforindia.org. And we would love for you to go in there and donate, and not just donate, but share this with your community. I have Facebook friends all over the world, and they've been reaching out, and we would love it if we can just get this thing, out to all areas. So it's really important for us to get the resources for Ramanan and team to do what they need to do on the ground. And then obviously, just keep India in mind, continue to research how else you can care. But right now they need the resources so that we can get the equipment so that we can save lives.
Thank you, Missy. Yeah, I just wanted to say in closing, thank you all for joining. Your support is very important to us, and this will make an impact. Time is of the essence. That's what this initiative is all about. So our singular goal is let's kind of come together as a global organization and kind of help save lives in India. Thank you so much for joining, and